Hi everyone, this is Sophia from the Unfair Advantage, and we have a really special guest today from UCLA. So, Kelly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm a first year student at UCLA. I'm currently studying business economics, but I'm hoping to possibly study psychology and film as well.
So, the major objective of this call is for you to break down your high school journey, like what kind of student were you, what did you do for academics, and any extracurriculars that you did, and basically walk us through your freshman, sophomore, junior, and high school years.
hmm Um, so looking back, I think throughout high school, during my freshman and sophomore year, I took on more course load than normal. I did a full schedule because I was interested in the arts and everything, and I had to do a full schedule in order to uh, get the classes and try the classes that I was interested in. Um, During junior year and senior year, that's when I was more relaxed. I took more AP courses, but less courses in total to lighten the load. I've taken AP courses such as AP Chinese, Calculus A, B, and BC, macro and microeconomics, English, chemistry, and I'm pretty sure it's computer science and principles. Um, Sorry, what were the other questions again?
Yeah, what do you do for extracurriculars?
Yes, for extracurriculars, I mainly did dance. I did 1 year of beginning dance at my high school, and the last 2 years I did advanced dance and joined their dance company. I was committed to ASB at my school for 4 years, and I was working with the district student government for my last 2 years. And I did do some sports. It wasn't that consistent. I tried a couple sports throughout my high school career. I did volleyball, I did track and field, and a little bit of cross country. So I was more so all over the place, but I mainly committed to dance and student government.
So, how did you manage your time during high school with your academics plus your extracurriculars?
To be honest, I wasn't the best with time. Most of the time, I just stayed up late, trying to finish assignments. But definitely, if I were to go back and encourage myself, one advice I would give is definitely review the material that you learned the day of. So you'll be prepared for tomorrow to ask any questions. Because the longer you take to review stuff, I feel like the questions that you may have or stuff that you're confused about, it gets more tough and it's harder for you to recall what you need clarification on to feel confident moving forward with the class.
And when did you know you wanted to do your major of business economics?
Honestly, I applied as a math major. I genuinely loved math. But throughout senior year, I took an economics course, the AP Micro and AP Macroeconomics, and the teacher I had was very enthusiastic, and the class was very interactive rather than textbook heavy. So that kind of got me interested in economics. So I switched right when I entered the fall quarter. But to be honest, I'm not completely sure if I want to stick to that. But I would say I feel like economics compared to mathematics, there's more paths for like career paths, like what I would want to do. I feel like I didn't want to do undeclared because that's way too broad, but economics wasn't too narrow so that I would still be heading towards some sort of routes, but not a specific one yet.
So, going back to your high school years, like your junior years, how did you create your college list? And do you have any tips?
Um, Well, I kept track of the emails I received from colleges, but honestly, I just applied to the schools that I guess everyone pretty much applied, like the UCs, CSUs, and some of the Ivy Leagues, and well-known out of states. I know, well, being like a first generation student, I wasn't really aware of like the colleges that were out there. So it was mostly like what colleges I've heard of, and then I would just do some research on those colleges and kind of plan my way from there.
So, you noted that you were a first generation student. So, how did you manage the process of college applications as a first gen?
Um, I really reached out to my counselors, like asking them for tips, like what should I say? And definitely the College and Career Center, how to fill out all the forms and FAFSA and all that stuff. It was mostly communication with the staff and my peers at school, like trying to get into the loop of what is going on, the timelines, like what I should have done by what time. And I did use Scholar Match. I went to their place every week or so, especially when the college apps were due. So mostly free resources and the staff at school.
And do you have any tips for like teacher recommendations or what courses to take as like a first gen?
Um, Yeah, so for me, when I chose my teachers for letter of recommendations, I would say I'm not the most extroverted, but also not the most introverted student. So I did have some sort of relationship between like me and my teachers. I mainly sought for teachers who taught me in the subjects that I was applying for. Because in my college apps, not only was I applying for mathematics, there was an essay that I wrote about why I like the subject mathematics. So definitely, I went for my mathematics teacher. Um, and the next teacher I chose was my economics teacher because I was starting to get really interested in economics. For classes, I would say definitely if you don't know what you love to study, you could think about what is beneficial in terms of like improve helping you improve in other areas. For me, when I was a junior, I really only wanted to take AP chemistry and AP calculus AB because I loved math and science was fun on the side, but I really didn't like English. But in my head, that was the year I was going to take SATs, so it would be good to have a more rigorous English course to really improve my writing. So definitely, first of all, think about what you want to explore more into. It doesn't have to be something you super, super love at the time, but going to the AP courses can help you learn more about how you can apply the subject to a career path and just what you love about the subject. And if you can't think about what you love the most, then go for, I guess, what would help you improve all around.
And I know you mentioned that you used a lot of free resources to your advantage. Was the college application process stressful for you at all?
Definitely it was stressful, especially the essays, because as I mentioned, English, I don't really love writing that much, and I'm not the best at it. So a lot of essays, I had to rewrite a couple times. Even one of my essays for the UCs, I rewrote the morning before it was due. Um, it takes a lot of drafts. At one point, I think I had like 10 or 8 drafts of the same essay. You just got to be patient with it. It's really tough, but at the end of the day, once you get that perfect draft, once you feel like you've really expressed how you feel and you're happy with what you've written, then it's going to be super worth it. Um, One advice I would give that was really hard for me to follow as well was definitely outlining your essays. And even if you're on the bus or just riding in the car, I guess pick out one question and think about how you want to answer it, what means a lot to you. Um, and yeah.
And so now that you got into the colleges, what made you choose UCLA in the end?
For me, I didn't have a dream college necessarily, but I know in junior year, I randomly had this nagging feeling that I really wanted to be at UCLA. Definitely was kind of between UCLA and USC because they're both in like the same area, so it wouldn't make much of a difference in terms of like location. Um, but a lot of my friends went to UCLA, so that kind of pushed me towards UCLA. And I think the environment at UCLA made me feel more comfortable. Just like by observing like the culture at USC, I just felt like I would find more of, I guess, more comfort at UCLA. And definitely, I knew that I wanted to be closer to home, but not too close that my parents would be at like the campus every other weekend. And I definitely like the sun. I think sunny weather like makes me happy, makes me feel motivated. So I wanted to stay on the West Coast as well.
So, what surprised you about UCLA now that you got in? And I know you said that you visited it during senior year, correct?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Um, the visit was really fun. I think what I liked most, or yeah, what I liked most about the visit was the brick buildings. I think, I don't know, I think I like more like old styled buildings, like brick and everything, rather than I think UC San Diego. They all have like glass doors, glass mirrors, and all that. And in terms of like what's surprising, I guess in terms of like academics, I think it's like the quarter system. I do want to mention that I like the quarter system because I feel like if I wasn't sure about studying one thing, it's easier to uh, take courses, like finish the courses I'm taking for a certain major or a certain subject, and I can easily switch into a different subject, take a different subject, and explore different things without worrying that, oh, I'm dedicating one whole semester to just this subject. And if I end up not liking it, then I'm kind of like half a year behind in whatever major that I'm ultimately going to decide on. But what really surprised me was how quick the quarter system was. When people say don't fall behind the quarter system, that is something you really want to take into account because 10 weeks go by really fast and it's hard to catch up once you fall behind for like a week or two.
And you also mentioned that you're taking a gap quarter, correct?
Mhm.
How is that like, and how did you handle it with like UCLA and stuff? And why did you decide to do it?
I wanted to take a step back, like in terms of mental health, and also just reevaluating why I wanted to study whatever, like why I wanted to study economics, what I genuinely liked, what I want to do in the future. Because when the courses got harder, um, and when I fell behind in the fall quarter, I was really challenged in terms of like whether or not I wanted to continue being in college. I wanted to just figure out like why I'm doing what I'm doing and what I want to do in the future as a hobby, as a career, and just as a passion. The gap quarter was not the smoothest ride. Like I feel like once when I clicked the decision to take a gap quarter, it felt easier in the beginning, but over time, you really have to write down like the goals that you want to set for yourself. Because with all that extra time, it's really easy to get lost, to wake up late and be like, oh, this is just another day. And as like the months go by, um, it kind of it just got confusing. Like just make sure you know why you're taking the gap quarter, and the goals that you want to achieve. Be really clear with those. I think that helped me.
So now going back to your college applications, what do you think was the strongest part of your college application?
Um, to be honest, I feel like my grades were the strongest part, and coming up close in second could be my essays. I feel like the extracurriculars I did, like my grades, I think they're pretty okay. But in terms of extracurriculars, I think I didn't do anything like super big. Like I didn't invent anything. I didn't start a whole program. I didn't really lead too many things. I did have some leadership roles, but I'd still say what I wrote down in terms of like describing how committed I was and what I brought to that program, I felt like it wasn't the most outstanding. Um, and coming up close second again is like my essays. I feel like I really explained like why I committed to the things I committed to, my extracurriculars, why I love dance, how much I grew from them, and what I learned, and just how different I was at the beginning of starting dance and how I am now and how I want to move forward after my experience with dance.
So, do you have any essay tips? I know you said previously that you weren't the best at English. So, do you have any tips for students who aren't really that good at writing for their essays?
Mm-hmm. So briefly, just again, like do outline because it really clears up your ideas and make you think and make you see if your ideas are logical. Do they line up? Do they really express how you feel? Is it giving the overarching message that you want to give to the people who are reading your essays? Because definitely having that outline and breaking down the pieces, it ultimately saves you time because I mean, at some points I didn't want to do that. There was an essay that I didn't want to do that, and I had to rewrite it like 3, 4, or 5 times, and I got really discouraged at some points because it was a whole essay that I didn't like, and so I had to rewrite the entire essay from the start. And definitely, like I mentioned, when you have free time, just think about what you like. It doesn't have to be an answer to a specific question. Just think about what you care about the most, what means a lot to you. Definitely, if it holds a lot of meaning to you, I think it'll be strong enough to pull you through. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Like for me, I feel like on the outside, student government would sound like a bigger thing because that's leadership, that's community, that's being involved. But I ultimately wrote my essays about dance. I don't think I even wrote an essay about my time with ASB. Um, it was mostly about dance and math and art. And I guess one more tip I would give is mm, yeah, no, I think I lost it. But I'll bring it up at the end if I remember.
Okay, that's awesome. So going back to your you being a first generation, how was it like going through high school since you didn't have as much resources as most students during their high school years?
Um, I think it was really hard for me, especially at the beginning, because especially when you're entering like any new school or program you're entering in, it's definitely something that you're not really familiar about. You're not sure how the system works, what courses there are. I mean, as you go, you'll know that, oh, they have a lot of this for math, have a lot of this for English. But definitely at the beginning, um, not knowing how the system worked, what was offered was challenging, as well as not having, well, I'm also an only child, so I don't have anyone or even cousins that much to really like look up to and get advice from. Um, yeah, it was really challenging. And my parents, they were also always gone. So I didn't really get to have like one on one talks with them to make a decision on what classes I want to take, what I want to study, what I want to join. So definitely at the beginning, what helps most is familiarize yourself with the system, what is offered. And one thing that I did at the beginning of a freshman year was I knew that I really liked math. Um, and so I looked up like what math courses they had offered, and I found out that I wanted to take up to like Calc BC, right? But my school, in order to take that course, it requires like 4 courses before it. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to take BC in high school if I didn't double up on a math course. And that's why, again, I mentioned that in freshman year, I took full schedule, and it was the 2 math courses that made my schedule become 8 classes instead of the regular, I mean, 7 classes instead of the regular 6 classes, I think. Um, and definitely build a strong relationship with your counselor. If you have any questions or concerns, like, or even just life talk. I know my counselor, he gave me a lot of like life talk. Like for example, in senior year, I was interested in taking some acting courses, and he gave me advice like think about joining a program versus joining a class, because sometimes when there's a grade involved, it might take your interest away because you're so consumed about making sure you pass class, and becomes more of a burden than an interest. So definitely build a good foundation, build a good relationship with your counselor, and don't hesitate to ask your teachers about like their experience with college, why they chose to be a teacher, and what career paths are out there. So it's a lot about doing your research, but it's also a lot about communication, because the communication would really help. Because for me, doing a lot of research on my own was a little bit tiring because I wasn't sure if I was at the right site, if there was more that I could be doing. But if you talk to counselors and teachers who have a lot of experience, then they ultimately can give you a more direct answer and guidance.
And I also know that you mentioned the AP classes you took before. How was it like taking the AP courses when you didn't really have an idea of what it was?
Um, Yeah, especially in sophomore year, even with like honors courses, I was really nervous. I didn't know too many people who were upperclassmen, but there was enough that I could ask. And basically, all I got was it was challenging, it's hard. I mean, that they did encourage me to try no matter what, but ultimately, they're not going to lie and say that it's easy. So I knew it was hard, and I had a lot of self doubt in the beginning. But I think one piece of advice I would give is just to go for it. Um, I mean, yes, evaluate how much experience you have in that course that you want to take, but ultimately, I feel like you'll know how to adjust to the course and know and figure out like what resources you can use to complete the course and get through it. So it's more about, I think, taking that first step. Yes, evaluate where you're standing and if you can handle it, if you like it, if it's beneficial to you. But definitely, if you really enjoy it, you're really interested in it, take the first step and believe that no matter what comes your way, you'll know how to adapt and maneuver around it.
And you also mentioned that you had a little bit of a self-doubt when you were coming in like high school. How did you overcome that imposter syndrome?
Mm, I think over time, it kind of went away. Maybe like the people that I'm with, like it makes the class more fun than intimidating. And you get to, I guess, with more people that you know who are in the same boat as you, it makes it less like it's just you who's struggling. And it's like, and I guess like knowing more people who are in the same boat as you get to like communicate, ask questions, and help each other, um, boost each other up in areas that you're not comfortable in. But I don't think I've completely overcome it. Um, I feel like definitely fall court at UCLA, it really challenged me, like what I was capable of doing when I fell behind, and then the classes just started feeling like it was impossible to complete.
And now going on to your transition between high school to college, how was that like for you?
Um, it was very nerve wracking. I think I over prepared myself. Like I did a lot of research about what courses I wanted to take, what credits I had to complete, talking to the counselors that were available, our department chairs. So it was a lot about familiarizing, again, like familiarize yourself with like the system, what you need to do, what is there, what is offered to you. Um, and as you do that, like familiarize yourself with the system, like by talking to counselors and all that, not only are you getting to know how to navigate the college, but you're also starting to build like the relationship with the counselors and department chairs who ultimately will be the ones who could possibly grant you an opportunity to take another major, or for like department chairs, they're going to, you know, see if they want to accept you into that major. Because UCLA, you still have to apply for a major. Because right now I'm still like a pre-business economics major, so I'm technically not really a business economics major, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And for your UCLA, are you doing any clubs at your college right now?
Um, I would say I started off wanting to do a lot of clubs. I did my research and I signed up for a lot of it, but ultimately, um, I went from like 6 or 5 to like 3 or 2. I'm still taking a step back to kind of like understand what I like rather than hopping into a club and having to build these commitments and feeling like I should be really engaged and thinking about bigger roles that I can take part of in that club. Because I know that I'm like competitive and I want to be more involved when I start something, but because I'm not really sure what I love, I feel like that's just going to end up pushing me in like all different directions. I have to really take a step back and know what I love to do first. But I did during fall quarter, I mainly did a dance team. I joined a club about filmmaking, and a mentor program. So I could get some guidance on like how to navigate the courses, especially during my first quarter. Right now, even though I'm on gap quarter, I'm still attending another club, which is called ACA, and I think it's the Association of Chinese Americans. I joined that because I want to learn more about my culture, and it's a very welcoming and large association. But those are the main 4 clubs I've been involved in so far.
That's an awesome story about you trying to like use your gap year to figure out what you really want to do, because I feel like a lot of people, they just go face forward and they need to take a step back to look at what they're actually doing and if they're passionate about it.
Mhm.
But thank you for so much for your time. And we have a community that helps students with their college admissions, financial success, and career aspirations. And the last question will be coming from me. And it is, what is one piece of advice you want to give to high school students that you feel like would give them an unfair advantage?
Um, I think overall the biggest tip I could just say is don't be afraid to try. If you're interested in something and you have absolutely no experience in it, um, just sign up, find a friend. If not, then just go for it. Because it was really scary for me because I came into high school really introverted, and I know that I really enjoyed dance and volleyball on the side, and I didn't really join with like a lot of friends, and I didn't really know a lot of people, so it was really challenging and scary to be on the spotlight because on volleyball you're literally on the court all the time, and then in dance you're dancing in front of everyone. You have to present. Just don't be afraid to take the first step. And if you want to think about it in terms of college apps, um, oh, the essay tip, I remember. Um, right, when you write your essays, think about beginning as in like who you were before, how you've grown, and that's like the middle part, and what you've learned, how you've grown, and how you want to use that growth and what you learned, um, and share it with like the college that you want to attend. So like for dance, I talked about how like I was not really confident in the beginning, and when I learned about I guess being okay with like where you are at with what you're learning, and then how I wanted to bring my values into the college that I wanted to go to. Um, but yeah, in terms of college apps, when you think about it the other way, putting yourself into uh, interests in extracurriculars that you're not really comfortable in, it could ultimately serve as a great story for you to talk about in the future, like your beginning, middle, and end for college apps. But regardless, whatever you do, whatever extracurriculars, classes, definitely don't be afraid to take the first step. Um, it's okay to take a step back and reevaluate. But once you've laid down like the pros and cons, why you want to do something, and you notice that the pros outweigh the cons, or regardless of how much you want, how scared you are, but you know that you really, really want to try, then definitely go for it. At the end of the day, I know that you can maneuver around it, whatever comes your way. And yeah, just don't be afraid to try.
That's some really great advice. And with that, you can promote your social media or anything for the remainder of the time.
Can I enter in the chat? Is
Yeah.
that yeah. Um, I don't need like a follow or anything. Just if you want to contact me for any questions, then definitely reach out to me. I will try and be quick and get to you. But yeah,
I
it's
don't think
mostly
it popped up in the chat. I can type it. What is it that you wanted to put it?
um, Okay, so my Instagram is up there. Okay, I can leave my email address if that's good.
Sure. What is your email address?
Can you see in the chat, or do you want me to?
Oh, it's in the private chat. Yeah, I can post it to YouTube. So if anyone has questions, please contact Kelly for any more information. I know you would love to help them. And it's right here. Should be here.
Oh, real quick, I think I'm gonna film like a video about like my sats and everything because I didn't do it last year. I just want to explain like the entire full scope background. But I do have like a college reactions video, so if you want more information about what I applied to, it will be on YouTube. I think you can search my name up. I don't know.
Kelly, is that the YouTube channel?
I don't know. I think I have 78 subscribers. That's the number. I don't really know.
I will post it in the comments once I find it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see everyone in the next video.